Hello, everybody. This is Swati live from Los Angeles. Today, right now, it is August 6th, 2015, 7 p.m. The reason I'm saying it is because somebody reminded me it may be a good idea to actually put the time and the date on top of, as you can see, the screen. I think it's a good idea. We'll know where we are. Do we really need to know? In a way, yes, and I'll tell you why. Partly because today I'm going to start with the story of how mindfulness came about, the origin of idea of mindfulness and why. For that, we'll have to go back long, long time ago, 2,500 years ago. Gautama the Buddha. You know the name Buddha. He was called Gautama the Buddha because he came from a clan called Gautama. He was born in a royal family, so we can call him a prince. So long, long time ago in India, there lived a prince who was always a very, very sensitive person and who was always inclined to think about spiritual matters. But he was still trained in the warcraft and also in diplomacy because he belonged to a noble family. This is a story. Now, I don't know if it is true or not, but this is how the story goes. When he was growing up, he was so protected that his parents did not let any pain or anything painful enter his life. He lived in the palace and in the palace gardens and grounds, and he never really suffered or never really saw any pain. But then once, when he became a young man, he ventured outside and he saw three things. He saw an old guy suffering because of old age. Then he saw a dead man being carried on the shoulders of his fellow men. And then he also saw illness. He saw sick people. When I was growing up, what I heard was he saw a lizard eating a fly. Again, as I said, I don't know if these stories are true or not. But one thing is clear that this prince, he did not want to just remain a prince. He was hounded by this question that looks like death, illness, and old age. These are going to happen in everybody's life one way or the other. There will be pain and suffering in every person's life. And as we know, if not huge pain and suffering, there will be stress, there will be loss, there will be all these things that we'll be dealing with, and much more. So he wanted to find the answer to how to deal with the miseries of life or the suffering of life. That was his goal. So he left his kingdom. Again, the story goes that late in the night, he kissed his child, he kissed his wife, and he left his home without telling anybody. And then he wandered around. In those days in India, Hinduism and asceticism, as in sadhus who used to have long hair and who used to live in forests and who used to practice very severe, painful kind of things to get special powers or spiritual powers. He went with those. He went and he did all those things for some years. He was standing in the river for hours together on one leg. He lived without anything that much. He starved himself, but he didn't really find the answer. He did get a lot of spiritual questions resolved or rather clarified, but he did not get the answer to what he was looking for. He went around. Then he also went to other gurus. Finally, after all this searching, he really was still dissatisfied. So he went to Bodh Gaya, what is called Bodh Gaya now, was Gaya. He sat under a big tree, a peepal tree, banyan tree, huge. And he sat there and he decided he was going to meditate till he found his answers. And he meditated for hours. The story goes, some people may say he meditated for days. Again, I don't know, but he did meditate for long enough time. And after his meditation, during his meditation, he suddenly got his idea. What is called, he got enlightened. He opened his eyes, he smiled. And these are the words he said. He said that the house of misery is built with the bricks of attachment. You take the bricks away, and the house of misery will collapse. After that, he started teaching what he had found. He summarized his teaching in 4 noble truths. And the 4 noble truths were that the pain and suffering is inevitable part of our life. There will be something happening in every person's life. There is a reason for why it happens. And the reason is that it's attachment. And there is cessation. That means we can get rid of this pain by getting rid of the brick of attachment. And how do you do that? And he came up with 8-fold path. And one of the main steps in the 8-fold path was meditation. And what type of meditation? Now you can guess. It was the Vipassana style of meditation. And again, when he said attachment, don't get confused with the attachment, the word we use in our normal sense, like being attached to your kids or your parents or your partner or any idea. It's not that simple attachment he was talking about. Attachment is defined as 2 components. One is craving, desperate craving for pleasure, something that leads you to do whatever it takes. And the other is aversion, to have very severe aversion that no matter what, I have to get out of this pain. This is what he meant by attachment. So what happened since then? And that we will get to tomorrow. Right now, just know that that is where mindfulness, the idea of mindfulness, or rather Vipassana, began. And where did it go since then? That you will have to wait till tomorrow. Right now, let's get to our breath awareness meditation. I'm going to get rid of this bottom. We don't need that anymore. So what we are practicing is how to observe our breath, how to develop focus and concentration, how to know this is it right now, this is how my body is receiving my breath. No stories, no anything that is not real, simply observing. Without judgment, no reaction, simply observing my breath. And we will start this meditation by ringing this gong 3 times. And then choose your preferred method of breath awareness. One more time, my preferred way is to pay attention to the nostrils, how my nostrils are receiving my breath. So let's go with it. Close your eyes, spinal cord straight. Relax your shoulders. Take a few deep breaths. And now, pay attention to your breath. Let it just flow in a normal way, without changing, without adding anything. Let's just observe how our breath goes in and comes out. Breath, our center, our anchor, our refuge, our life, source of our life, the vital part of our existence. Let's observe our breath. If your mind is wandering around, that's okay. That's the nature of the mind. Bring it back to the breath. Aha, this is my mindful moment. Let me come back to the breath. Watching the breath. Breath in and breath out. Breath in and notice, breath out and notice. I notice everything that's going on with my breath. Notice the body. Some of you will feel rejuvenated, more energy. Some of you may feel distracted, may feel anxious, but that's okay. Just relax your shoulders and watch your breath. Don't get up, don't leave just because there may be a little bit of ache or pain, either in your body or I'll get to you when the time comes. Let me watch the breath right now. If your mind is wandering around, that's okay. This is my mindful moment. I know my mind is somewhere else. Let me bring it back to the breath. Every moment is a new moment. Every breath is a new breath. Just notice how each time you take a breath could be a little bit different compared to the last time. Bring your attention back to the breath, the source of life, the anchor, the center, the refuge, the breath. Bring your attention back to the breath. Breath is coming in, it gives oxygen, goes to the lungs, and then it comes out because it needs to get new fresh breath. I'm sitting here watching myself. Everything else is outside this door. Come back to the breath in and breath out. If your mind is somewhere else, aha, this is my mindful moment. Now I know where my mind is, and let me bring it back to my breath, to my refuge. Breath in and notice, breath out and notice. At this point, we are going to start winding down our meditation. And before we do that, I'm going to ask you to say this one line 3 times as you breathe in and breathe out. And pay attention to this line. Breathe in, I smile. Breathe out, I'm okay. Breathe in, I smile. Breathe out, I'm okay. Breathe in, I smile. Breathe out, I'm okay. So today I told you the story of Gautama the Buddha, the prince who went out looking for the answer and he did find his answer. And that's where mindfulness, or rather Vipassana, began. We'll know what happened later, but there is a question here which says, while doing meditation, I find myself itching to open my eyes after some time, with different thoughts coming to my mind. Some of the times I feel my body is collapsing to sleep while my eyes are closed. Are we supposed to drive away all external stimuli? Um, Anshuman, in the beginning, when you are training yourself, I would say yes. As in, I would like to take a gentle approach. So I won't call it like drive it away or get rid of them in a very severe way. But gently speaking, I would suggest in the beginning, close your eyes because otherwise you'll notice too many things. Try to be in a quiet place. And as I said, sometimes people will have a shawl and they will wrap it around their body. That's number one. Number two is thoughts coming to your mind. Yeah, that will happen. And I think you mentioned that you sometimes fall asleep. Is that what you said? Sometimes you want to open your eyes. You're itching to open your eyes. The only time I would suggest opening your eyes, in fact, is when you start falling asleep. Because you would like to keep yourself awake. Sleeping is not the same as meditation. There are 5 enemies of meditation. 5. Sleep is one of them. And what are the other 4? I'll tell you that in a moment. But if you start falling asleep, you open your eye just enough, and then I would suggest rolling your eyeballs or looking at sunlight or any source of light to wake yourself up. We are not trying to empty our mind, as you must have noticed. That is a type of meditation, but that's not mindfulness meditation. We are trying to watch whatever is coming to our mind. Where that takes us, that depends. But our goal is to watch our breath right now. Thoughts will come. If a strong thought comes, just notice it. like some association or something that you are aware of, just notice it and go back to your breath. Sometimes you may not be aware, you will daydream, go somewhere else. Once you know that, aha, this is my mindful moment, I know where my mind is. Bring it back to the breath. When you're not falling asleep and if you want to open your eyes, just play with it. Play with the idea that you are not going to open your eyes. Because in a way, you are training yourself in sitting and watching the breath in a certain way. So I would suggest, why don't you try to see if you decide I'm not going to open my eyes, what will happen? Notice that I have this big temptation to open my eyes. Now, what are the 5 enemies of meditation? I have a question here. I would like to answer the question first. Enrique says that he was able to practice some of the tea time meditations at different points in the day. It was so wonderful to enjoy those moments deeply. I'm so glad, Enrique, because that's how it becomes. It added to my enjoyment of the time. And I am very glad that it happened, because especially when you are on a vacation, it is a good time to practice it. It enriches your vacation. And I hope you can continue doing it even when you have your busy schedule. Sometimes people say in the morning, I'm so rushed. The idea of taking some time off to drink tea mindfully, it will make me more stressed out. But this is what I say. I'm not asking you to have your whole cup of tea mindfully, slowly. At least pay attention, but choose 2 minutes. And I think it's unreasonable to say that you don't even have 2 minutes. 2 minutes to have just a couple of sips of mindful tea. And it will be again an interesting experiment to see, even when you're rushing, even when you are extremely stressed out, what if you decided to take 2 minutes off and have mindful sips? How would that, what would that do to you? And it would be very interesting to know your experience with that. And with that, again, I haven't told you what the other 4 enemies of meditation are. I'm going to tell you what. I'm not going to tell you that today, right now. We'll postpone that to tomorrow. Right now, just know sleep is one of those enemies, and it is very normal and very common to start falling asleep when you start your meditation. But one thing is to choose the right time of the day, especially in the beginning when you are practicing. And another thing is to know how to wake yourself up if sleep starts coming. It's not racing against anybody, it's not competing. It is really becoming more and more aware and to do whatever is told in order to avoid these things. And with that, I'm going to say bye to you today, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye for now.